Ready? We on? Okay. Got it. No, got it. I got it, but it said I didn't got it. Okay, so we are having two meetings tonight. First one is going to be land use. Okay. Ready? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the City of Hialeah Planning and Zoning Board meeting for Wednesday. What's today say? 15th? 16th. November 16th belated meeting. November 16th, 2022. Actually, tonight it's going to be two meetings. It's going to be a land use and a regular P&Z meeting. Okay. Everyone, please rise for the invocation and pledge of allegiance. Lord, we thank you for this opportunity here tonight. We ask that you please guide us, watch over us, give us enlightenment as we go through these items in front of us. And please help us make the right decisions for all those involved. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. May be seated. See, that wasn't that difficult.
Meeting guidelines. The following guidelines apply to today's Planning and Zoning Board meeting. Any person, whether participating via the web platform, telephonic conferencing, or physical presence at City Hall, interested in making comments or posing questions on any item on the agenda may do so during the meeting. Members of the public may hear the meeting live through telephonic conferencing using any telephone or cellular phone service. A smart device or computer are not necessary to participate in the meeting if you join by phone. All persons participating via the web platform will be muted during the meeting until called upon to be heard. Participation through Zoom requires a computer or smart mobile device with a microphone and web camera. The participant may elect to participate in the meeting using audio only or appear through both audio and video. The video function of all participants appearing through video will be turned off until called upon to be heard. All lobbyists must register with the Planning and Zoning Board prior to item being heard. A maximum of 4 speakers in favor and 4 speakers in opposition will be allowed to address the Planning and Zoning Board on any item. Each speaker's comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Roll call. Mr. D. Perez?
Here.
Mr. Gamon?
Here.
Mr. Iglesias?
Here.
Mr. Jimenez?
Here.
Mr. Ulloa? Is absent. Mr. Casanova?
Here.
Mrs. Enriquez? Here. We have a quorum. Administration of oath to all applicants and anyone who will be speaking before the board on any item.
Do we have anybody on Zoom? One? Okay. All involved in the audience that's going to speak in front of us, please stand, raise your right hand, including the ones in Zoom. And Mr. Attorney will swear you in.
You affirm to tell the truth before this board.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
We heard a yes from Zoom. Okay. Let the record show that it was in the affirmative.
Summary minutes or a copy of the audio file of the proceedings before the Planning and Zoning Board shall be prepared and submitted to the City Council before its hearing. The Planning and Zoning Board recommendations for the following public hearing requests will be heard by the City Council at a scheduled meeting of Tuesday, December 13th, 2022.
Okay, need to recognize Mr. Ulloa just walked in just in time. Welcome. Thank you.
LU1, small scale map amendment from low density residential to residential office. Property is located at 320 Northeast 8th Avenue. Hialeah zoned R1 1 Family District. Applicant Juan Carlos Carballo.
Juan Carlos Caballo.
That's gonna be
Mute. Ya te ven.
Oh, it's a Zoom. Okay. I see you raising your hand back there. You name and address, please. Elisa?
Elisa Garcia, it's 488 Palm Avenue, Hialeah, Florida, 33010.
Thank you.
And she's
Frank,
trying to jump the gun because
are you representing?
No, she's not.
she's not here for this one.
Just now for this item?
No.
Oh,
I mean, I don't mind if you want.
No. I just that I see that she came in. What is she in for? Next item?
No, she's a regular meeting.
Oh, Elisa,
yes, sir.
sit down, relax, go get yourself a cup of coffee. It's gonna be at least 10 or 15 minutes before we
Thank
get.
Thank you so
Okay.
much. Yes,
Thank you. Sorry about that.
Frank de la Paz, 9361 Burr Road, on behalf of Mr. Juan Carlos Carvalho.
Thank you, sir. Sorry about that. It happens.
The property in this application is located at the northwest intersection of East 8th Avenue and Northeast 3rd Place. The property is located within a stretch of Lejeune Road where the majority of the properties have low-density residential land use. Along this stretch within the 500 feet radius of the properties, there is one property with commercial land use granted in the late 80s and another one with residential office land use granted in the 1990s. Both are under-maintained, several violations were observed, and shall be considered mistakes from the past that should not be repeated. The applicant is before the city requesting a land use amendment from low-density residential to residential office. The subject property was developed as a single-family home in 1947. The submitted plans show a proposal to incorporate a 4-car parking lot fronting East 3rd Place, without the required landscape buffer, where a residential office would require 8 parking spaces. No improvements to the building are proposed. The situation clearly illustrates a repetition of the undesirable conditions existing on the above-mentioned properties mistakenly granted a land use change in the past. Lejeune Road is a roadway with intense traffic and is not the ideal place for a single-family use. However, there are zoning alternatives within the low-density residential land use, such as R2, that would allow increased density without having to incorporate a commercial use on a property developed for a different purpose, and that disrupts the existing land use consistency. The requested land use change from low-density residential to residential office shall be denied, since it is not consistent with existing surrounding land uses, and its rezoning to a row will require several variances. The recommendation is denial.
Thank you, Mrs. George. Frank?
Good afternoon, and I will tend to agree with some of the comments, but not all of them. Definitely, we have a situation that was the residential office zoning was amended a few years back, where it will require now also a land use. That's not always been the case. But this classification of the code has always been one of those that has been a stepchild of everybody. There is not a single residential office in this city that has been established without the requirement of some sort of a variance. Because the way the ordinance has been developed throughout the years, you're supposed to have the character of a residential house where the office can be, for the public, be established with the parking on the back. And I have yet to see anybody being able to squeeze a driveway to a 7.5 foot setback from the sides to go to the rear. So all of them throughout the year, since the day they started enacting them and enforcing them, had needed variances. Nevertheless, we are here only for land use, fully knowing that we will need to request variances and amend our plans. We did submit a revised site plan showing 5 parking spaces, even though on the landscaping on 3rd, even though we don't agree with what the property appraiser shows as the square footage of the house. That's how 8 parking spaces came about. Because our square footage, the way we measure it for the gross square footage is much less, and 5 parking spaces will suffice. Now, Lejeune Road definitely is the poster child of what a residential office should be. It's a buffer between the residential and commercial. That was the intent of the ordinance. Unfortunately, for this lot, it was platted as 65 by 100 by 100. It doesn't even have the 75 foot that you usually will have. Having a duplex, it will mean tearing down the house because we cannot get an entrance to Lejeune Road, nor do we want to have an entrance to Lejeune Road because it will be totally useless. You cannot go in and out of Lejeune Road if you were able to get a cut from DOT. Now, we have proffered today, just to appease some of the concerns that the city might have, that if this land use goes through at the time of rezoning, it will be limited to a residential office for the insurance agent, because that's what the gentleman is. He's an insurance agent. He doesn't want to have to continue to pay rent forever on a shopping center. He wants to have his own office with his assistant and enough parking spaces for those clients that will come in once in a blue moon to sign the original policy applications. Now, as to the maintenance of the neighbors, that's not on us. And I understand that they might have been mistakes in the past. Maybe they were ahead of their times, knowing the changes will come down to Lejeune, which they have. We do intend to spend a substantial amount of money on this property to make it appealable. We already put a brand new roof, $15,000 for the metal roof, but we could not continue to do improvement to it unless we know where we're going to be going. So all I'm asking today is step number one, land use. We proffered that we will limit ourselves to a insurance agent. And obviously, there will be a application with variances at the time of rezoning because you must have variances if you ever want to do a residential office in Hialeah. It doesn't exist without variances. It has never happened, at least since I've been involved for a little bit of a time, more than I wish to remember. Any questions? I'd be willing to answer.
Thank you. Thank you, Frank. Any comments, Deborah? Comments or questions from the board? Please.
Is the gentleman that is doing the business, is he planning on living in the house at the same time as working there?
No, because it's a very small house. It's 780 square feet. It's just going to be his office.
It's got a garage too, is what I'm seeing, right?
Excuse me?
I might be looking at the wrong house. Is this the one? This is the house.
He used to have a carport in the back, and
Yeah.
we demolished all of that, all the things.
But
that
it's a
were-
full residential area.
It is a residential area. We have a car dealership to the north, and we have a residential office across the street to the south, which is a medical office, and that's what create many problems on the RO, sir. And as you all have seen it on the past, Lejeune has been changing.
Yeah.
North of 25th, it has been changing to all those duplexes that are not duplexes. Two-story, very nice, with a lot of more people that and more traffic and trips that what this office will generate. To the south, we have the new corridors on the on Southeast A Street, where we got apartment buildings coming in to Lejeune, even though the immediate neighborhood area is single family also. Because the fact of the matter is, Lejeune is a rental area at the best if you want to be there. Even across the street from us to the south is a fairly new house. It was the last one that was developed in the neighborhood. It is a rental property in as much as it looks very nice because not too many people want to live on it.
I understand what you're saying, but if we keep going and knocking out our houses, it's just gonna be worse for us, is what I feel. I'm looking at the house on Google Maps, and it's a fairly nice house.
It's a 1947 house. It's kept in very good condition.
Yeah, it's a very
And
nice
we do
house.
plan to do some improvement to it, especially in the landscaping and the
Are the
parking area.
neighbors are in favor of this? Are they happy about you guys moving in and doing?
The
it?
neighbors are not opposing to it because they rather have somebody that will take care of the property. It's not like it was before when it was a rental.
I would still like to see more homes and businesses in an area like this. But thank you for your time.
No, I understand.
Any more comments, questions from the board? Anyone in the audience have a comment or question on this item? Anyone in the electronic audience? This is a part of the public hearing. What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to deny.
Second.
I have a motion to deny in a second.
Motion, Mr. Ulloa, second, Mrs. Enriquez. Mr. Iglesias?
Yes.
Mr. Jimenez?
Yes.
Mr. Ulloa?
Yes.
Mr. Casanova?
Yes.
Mr. D. Perez?
Are you raising or demolishing the building, or you say, you said you
No.
already put a new roof on there?
We already put a new roof,
So-
but we are not demolishing the building.
So the footprint pretty much stays as it is?
Footprint has to stay what it is.
Yes.
Mrs. Enriquez?
Yes.
Mr. Ramon?
No.
Item has been denied.
Thank you very much.
LU2, small scale map amendment from medium density residential to commercial. Property is located at 445 West 11th Street, Hialeah zoned R1 One Family District. Applicant Odalis Fernandez.
Name and address, please.
Good evening, Board. Juan Fernandez, 445 West 11th Street, Hialeah, 33013.
Thank you, sir.
The property in this application is located on the north side of West 11th Street, east of Okeechobee Road. West 11th Street at this location dead ends on the canal that runs along Red Road. All the properties along the north side of West 11th Street have medium-density residential land use. The properties on the south side of West 11th Street have medium-density residential and commercial land use. The subject property sits on a substandard lot with a frontage of 25 feet, has medium-density residential land use, and is developed with a 1,400 square feet single-family home built in 1967. The property west of the subject property is improved with a multifamily development that includes 46 units and substandard parking. The adjacent property to the east, 441 West 11th Street, also owned by the applicant, was granted a rezoning to R3 and significant variances in 2006 to allow a daycare as an expansion of a daycare existing since 1989, also owned by the applicant, located at 421 East 11th Street. 441 and 421 West 11th Street have unity of title. The two properties in between have R1 zoning and are developed with single-family homes. West of 421 West 11th Street, there is another multifamily building with 13 units and substandard parking. The south side of West 11th Avenue is improved with an automotive-oriented use on its west end and an 18-unit apartment building, also with substandard parking, and an 86-room motel. Parking is a challenge in the area because of the substandard parking conditions of the multifamily buildings on this street and the parking deficiency of the existing daycare properties. The applicant is before the city requesting a land use change from medium-density residential to commercial. The purpose of the change is to remodel the existing house to use it exclusively for after-school care to serve daycare participants in need of special after-school care and therapies. If the requested land use is approved, the property will need to be rezoned to B1, and several variances will be needed, including parking variance. Given the existing conditions of the area and the intensification of the subject property's use with parking demands impossible to be satisfied on site, the requested land use change is not recommended for approval. The recommendation is denial.
Thank you, Mrs. Stewart. Fernandez?
Yes. Okay, we've been at that location over 20 years, servicing the community when it comes to childcare. My mother has taken upon herself to grab that location, which Deborah mentions is on a dead-end street with very low traffic because, like she mentioned, people live there. And the only other traffic you get is the motel, which has an entrance on Okeechobee as well. When it comes to parking, the only use that we have is only during school days, which is Monday through Friday, except for holidays. And the drop-offs are usually in the morning and pickups are in the evening with very little time frame needed for drop-off and pickup. Parking till right now in 30 plus years has never been an issue with both the daycares that we have running. And all we did was acquire the other home that was next to us. And we're just trying to add after school to a program which the parents so desperately need for the children in the area. I would love to take any questions. You know, it's cold in here, so I'm a little nervous too in front of you guys. So bear with me. But, you know, like I said, all we're trying to do is provide a service to the community that we feel needs it. We have a lot of children that, you know, that come to her school basically because of the prices she provides. We're in a low income area, so she provides more than fair pricing for the children. And so we're highly recommended because of the childcare that she provides. She does it like if she's at home with her own kids. So that's what we're asking for, and I'd love to take any questions. And as you can see, I don't do this for a living, so I apologize.
Doing great.
Do you own both houses, 441 and 445, or
Yes, sir.
is your intended usage, or do you intend to use the 441 as an expansion of the business of this, or is that going to be a residential?
No, we're going to use it as an expansion for after school for the children at 441.
Shouldn't 441 be on the?
441. They have the 421 was the original daycare without parking. So then a couple of years ago, they came because they bought the other property, 441, as an expansion of that daycare. So both have a unit of title and are for the daycare. Now they are buying this other property for aftercare, no daycare. So you cannot have aftercare on medium density residential on R3. So they need to change the land use to commercial and then rezone to B1 to be able to have there the aftercare.
Understand that?
So
That's a mouthful.
it's a lot.
Okay.
Everything that was required, that was asked of us, we've agreed to do. When it comes to what they've requested for parking and for the building and everything, we've agreed. All the suggestions that were given, we've agreed to beforehand.
Comments or questions from the board?
Through the chair,
Please.
are there two houses in between? Is that what I'm seeing between the daycare and the
Yeah.
after school care?
Yes, there is.
And the parking would be in the front, in the rear?
The parking's in the front for the drop off and pickup.
So this would be after school care, so this would be maybe like 5 o'clock, is there traffic at 5 o'clock in that area?
No,
That's
there's
right there in
no,
Okeechobee.
but it's a dead end road.
That I don't-
If you look at it on the map, it's like basically the second property
Mhm.
from Okeechobee. There's a apartment building
You have an apartment building and then this.
and then the two little,
Yeah, we're in the middle of
Right.
of it because of that building's very big and takes up most of the block. The other thing too is we're not gonna there's not gonna be additional traffic for us because it's our same kids that we've already serviced during the day. They'll just be for after school. So we're not gonna be having additional traffic. It's our own kids already there.
will you be increasing the amount of students of the daycare?
No, because it's the same kids. But unfortunately, some of the kids that we have, some of them, some of them are autistic, some of them have speech impediments and stuff. The area that we're in is, have some kids with some issues. So it's just, we need to separate them because when you have after school, if you have some kids that aren't after school and aren't doing tutoring and some are, you got to kind of separate it because it gets a little wild sometimes. And how do you get these kids to concentrate when, you have other kids that are just there playing as opposed to tutoring?
In the after school care, is there like a park? Kind of like I see in the daycare, is there a park outside or anything, or will they be indoors the whole time?
No, they're going to be indoors for that tutoring. The one next to it, 445 does have a park in the back.
Yeah.
Correct.
Any more comments or questions? Go ahead. I see you have a question. I was ready.
It concerns me because, as Ms. Storch said, that there's inadequate parking in the area. Not just, they've made concessions with your business in the past, and you have concessions now. We're going to add more concessions to your business and aggravate the parking situation in the area even more than what it is right now. I feel for you, I really do. But sometimes you should think things through before jumping into what you did right now. Maybe you should have consulted somebody. I would love to tell you yes, but if we keep saying yes to everybody for things like this, then there's gonna be little patches of business areas and residential areas. And that's terrible. We're killing our own residential areas in our city. We're gonna have less and less residential areas. Everything's turning into business areas or multifamily units. I understand everybody, do you guys live in the city of Hialeah?
No, we don't.
Okay, exactly. And
We
I
provide-
knew it because the majority of people that come here to do business here don't live here. They're not subject to the traffic. They're not subject to the issues that we're having to face. And my concern here is, I feel for you, but my concern is to my city and to the residents of my city.
And
That is first and foremost to me.
Yeah.
I wish I could tell you yes, but right now, you have enough concessions. I think you should have thought this through before buying the property, because everybody thinks I'm gonna get this and it's gonna happen, and don't worry, we'll get a lawyer and it's gonna happen. I hope you don't. I really don't. And I'm sorry, but I don't, I think that we've had enough concessions with a lot of businesses. We told this gentleman earlier, no, and it's hard. And I understand you spent a lot of money and you're trying to do something for the community. But the community in the area where you're at right now, the parking is stressed, the traffic is stressed. And you're telling me no, but I've been in that area because I have my shop right here on Fifth Street. I live in Hialeah, and I drive down Okeechobee Road, and it's terrible. Right now, I came running, trying to make it here on time, and the traffic was unbearable. And I apologize to you, and I wish that I could say yes, but at this moment, I myself am going to motion to deny, because there's no way that I could say more just destroying our residential areas.
if you've been down that road and you see where the motel is, I don't think you would want to live in front of that motel.
Oh, obviously, and I
and
wouldn't want
I-
to take my kids to that area either.
Yeah,
to school
well,
in
you
that
would if
area.
you go inside the school and you
Well, I
and you meet the
understand, but I
teachers and you see
know
the
that
care
area,
that's
that area
provided
is
to the
not the
kids.
safest area either, so.
The other thing I was going to mention is if you see that home before we acquired it, it was a squatter home. And if you see there was some people that go by, and I think you would have been scared to go inside that home with the people that were in
I
there.
totally understand what you're
And
talking
we've
about,
actually revitalized that area.
And I
the
appreciate
daycares
that.
we've done.
but
yeah.
maybe it should be turned into a residential instead of a business. It is a
Have you
residential
seen the
area.
dimensions of the home?
It doesn't matter. Some people need a small house because they can't afford a big house.
No, it's very narrow. It's not about being small. It's actually very long, but it's very narrow.
That's great for some
It
people
is-
that have maybe 2, 3 family members and they have an opportunity to own their own home. That'd be amazing for some people that don't have an opportunity to own a big home like you guys probably do.
I'm actually in financing, so one of the things I do is actually provide home ownership to first-time home buyers, which is one of my prides.
Great.
So
and-
you're talking
and I
to someone
salute
that
you.
puts people in homes for a living. So
I'm not against you.
no,
Like I
no,
said,
understand, but you say I live in a
I'm
big
doing-
home, and you're saying that you
I'm
wouldn't want to
doing
put your kids
the
in the
best
daycare that
thing.
we're at.
I am doing the best thing that I feel for my city and the residents of my city. And I apologize if I said anything wrong to you. That was not my intent. What concerns me is we've already gave you concessions with your first building, and now you're asking for more concessions. I think enough is enough, and tearing down our residential area is not the way I want to go for my city. So if the board could hear me out, please save our homes, save our residents, and think of our residents first. Understand these people are doing business here and we appreciate them, but they don't have to live through what we're living through because we live here and they don't.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
What,
Through the chair. I thought my house was narrow. This is super narrow.
very narrow, very
Yes.
uncomfortable.
So I actually feel better now. Because I have a substandard lot. I'm trying to look at Google. I see there's 2 houses. There's like a larger house, like there's your daycare, a bigger house, then like a little narrow house.
yeah.
And then is your daycare and then another little narrow house.
Which is the one we're
So
trying
yours
to
is
get
like
the,
right smack in the middle.
yeah, we're the ones trying to get the.
And how's the relationship with the neighbors? Are they
They're
okay with
fine.
it?
They're fine. They've been there. Well, they've been there forever. They're fine. I mean, like I said, if you would have seen the house before, it was like squatters, and I don't want to say what other type of people were there, but it wasn't nothing pleasant. That the city of Hialeah will be proud of saying that they're there. You know, you guys wouldn't want to walk through that street when that house was empty.
I know that area.
Very scary to be honest with you guys.
Yeah.
And again, we're not asking
I'm a
for
daycare
anything
next
that we're going to bring in additional traffic. It's our own kids that are already there, you know, and we also provide employment for a lot of people that live in the city of Hialeah, a lot of teachers that need it right now. As you guys know, it's tough, you know, and we're able to provide employment for people that really do need these jobs. Just like people need homes, they also need work. And we're providing work for these people.
And how long have you been in business in this particular little house? The one that you're asking for? It's not like a new business, right?
16 years.
16 years.
Yeah. So it's the same kids from there that are going to be going on after school. Yeah. She's been 24 years in the bigger one and 16 in the smaller one.
So this is nothing new. It's been
No,
there.
no,
It's
been
just
there.
that you realize that after X
Yeah.
amount of time, you need to legalize things. So,
Yeah.
okay. Thank you.
What is the current use for that property right now? What's the current use for that second property that, and I'm glad that you own both properties. Okay, that's as far as I'm concerned, that's a big plus for you. Are you using both of the properties for the same purpose, the same business, or is the second property as a residential or?
No, right now it's just vacant. We're just waiting
Vacant.
for this process to get approved. But we've remodeled it, you know, with paint and tile and made it pretty, you know. It's to mimic what we have. So if you go by there, the three homes all look the same. It's not like, you know, they're different. They all look the same.
My
It's very
concern,
uniform.
my concern is that this business has been going on for quite a long time. It's not like something new.
No, with
It's
no
just that
issues.
there's some issues with the permits.
Yeah, we're getting the variance, but we've had no issues in 24 years, not whatsoever. Never with parking, never with police, never with anything.
Right. Chair, if I
Thank
may,
you.
how many kids do you have in the daycare now?
When you say,
Okay. And the aftercare will be the same? And how about your hours? What are the hours of the daycare and the aftercare?
the 6 would be after.
Thank you.
One second. Let me see the map.
I would be okay with it if, you know, it's been a while, it's been 16 years and the neighbors are already accustomed to it. You know, you have teachers, there's kids, so it's not something new.
And it's good for the community.
This house is new.
The house
House
is,
is new. They had the bigger daycare, a little, one of these little homes that they came for a variance some years ago, and now they bought another one that they haven't occupied yet. So it's kind of expanding the use.
oh,
Through the chair,
Please.
if you look on Google Maps, there are a couple of homes next to the businesses that have no parking signs posted on their fences and on their walls. So obviously somebody's being bothered by it.
no. No. This is the date. And then somebody else, and then we have. the daycare over here.
Okay, thank you, John. He's doing a little bit of research right now.
No.
Is there any comments or questions from the audience? Let's open up to the public hearing. Anyone in the electronic audience have a comment or question? No? Any more comments or questions from the board? Okay, so just for the record here, so we can all be on the same page. You have the big building to the west. You have two small, long yellow houses
Yes, sir.
with a black fence around it. Then there is a third long building to the east. Then there's a big house to the east of that. Your properties are the two yellow.
Yes, sir.
See him now?
Through the chair.
Yes.
Is that third house
The
that you
two
guys are
orange- the
trying
two
to approve?
orange.
Is that
Well,
the one,
yellow,
it's not
orange.
next to the ones you own right now?
No, it's not next. He owns one, the big one that has a playground. Then there are two houses in between, and then they have one little one that is painted orange that has a basketball court in what is supposed to be the parking. And then the other one that is painted in the same color.
Yeah, how will you be taking the kids from one place to the other?
Inside the property, there's like, you know, the fence, there's a door.
I mean, does it connect?
Yeah,
to
it
the
connects,
other?
it connects.
The third house will be connecting to
No,
that?
he's saying from one little house to the other.
Yeah,
little
because the
house,
kids are only gonna
because
go
they
from
are
the
at
smaller, the long, small house, the one that's further east,
Uh-huh.
to the one that's west, and they connects through
So,
the hallway,
So what's-
in between the lots.
excuse me, so what's gonna be the other third house, what's gonna be?
No, the third house is only that's a daycare for smaller children. The one that is long is for older children. That's the ones that are gonna be after school.
Okay,
So
so
you're
it's not
saying-
the one from the, sorry.
I'm sorry.
It's not the
No.
one that has the park. It's
No.
the two that are right next to
Yes.
each other.
Correct.
Okay.
So all we're doing
So
is,
basically, you're saying that your fence dividing or right smack between the two houses as a gate
yes, sir.
within the property,
Yes, sir.
and you can
Yes, sir. They will
move
not be going to the
kids from
streets or nothing.
one property to the other.
Absolutely.
Within the property, they don't have to come out.
100%, yes, sir.
Okay, sorry. My understanding was that you were taking them from the original daycare that's all the way
No,
over
Not at
there.
all.
Between the two, you know, that there's two
Yes.
houses. I thought that's what
Correct.
was happening.
it's only those two houses.
So
Okay.
how many children you said?
20.
20. 20 in that little house, in one of the little house, and those 20 will go to the other house?
Well, about half or so will go to the other house.
Then, and is the daycare, it is not a school, it's a daycare?
Yes.
Okay, no kindergarten, no first
No.
grade, only daycare.
To the chair?
Go ahead.
Yeah, we usually start off as a daycare, and then they're gonna come in and they're gonna ask for to get to a school, to first grade, third grade. This is a small unit, and they're gonna put 20 kids in a small house that he even said is a very narrow house that is not even good for a residential. So if it's not good enough for a family of 3 to live in, how is it good enough for 20 children or 10 children to be in there? That's what I would like to know.
It's not, when I say it's not good enough to live in, is because when you live in, you wanna have, I'm guessing, some type of space. Here, your students in a classroom, I'm sure your child, if you have kids, go to a classroom, and I'm sure the classroom is the size of a room. So that's what we're providing as well.
I don't understand, but I guess.
I don't think you have made a motion. You suggested a motion, but we have still open, but it's been noted. Those, right, those are his, you want to, can you put it up on the screen or?
Ya.
There we go. Okay, so these are the two properties, look up, these are
Yes,
the
sir.
two properties that were,
Yes, sir.
the two
Yes, sir.
yellow, orange, whatever house,
Yes, sir.
with the black fence all the way around.
Yes, sir.
All the way around both properties and in between both properties
Yes, sir.
where you do have a connecting gate between both properties. And if are you right now at this moment utilizing your kids or moving your kids from one property to the other like that or?
We cancel, we get the variance.
Okay.
Deborah, is there a way to do like some type of condition where they can't make this school any bigger? So we can avoid this going into kindergarten, first grade?
Yeah, they may sign a declaration of restrictions, no?
Please correct me if I'm wrong, Deborah. There's a zoning ordinance that we've recently drafted, which I think would address your concern in the future. Would it also apply to this this district, this land use district, the one that would require a CUP to be self-contained and at some point in time would prohibit the addition of schools to daycares, would it apply in this district?
Every school, to be a school, they need to come to a conditional use permit. And when they come for the conditional use permit, they are proffering now that it's a daycare, so there at that time, you will know, they are coming now from the school. And there you would say, okay, we grant it, or we don't think this is the place.
And in any event, at some point, Deborah, if the new ordinance, which this board will be hearing soon, and if approved by the city council, at some point will phase out schools adjacent to daycares.
This will be an ideal place if on the old daycare, they demolish the building, they do a new building, and on these two little places, they do the parking that the other property is lacking. So that is it. Old houses being used for something that they were not built for, no parking, so we are adding another problem to a problem that already exists from the past.
I'm just concerned with the area. I know you said you've been there for years, you know, you've been able to keep the kids safe, but like you said, that house that you bought was not
Not in the
being
best
used.
condition, yeah.
Right. So I'm concerned that there in the future may be more kids in that area, gonna cause more traffic. And I'm with Mr. Ulloa on that, you know, we're losing residential properties, you know, opportunities for other people who may want to invest in just a single family home. We are losing that opportunity there. So I'm a little bit conflicted. I like what you guys are doing. I'm just a little.
Go ahead.
So where the playground's at, you've been there for 20 years. Then the other one, you've been there for 16 years.
Yes,
which
sir.
And then you got, trying to get the one next to that one, be able to transfer those.
Yes, sir.
Okay. She is moving the mouse. Make sure that we're all, because there's 3 houses there that look very similar. Those 2 that are on the screen right there, those are your property,
Yes, sir.
both of them.
Yes, sir.
Not the next one, not the
sir.
third one down to the east,
Oh, that one's not
Then-
yours.
okay? And then there's another house, or is that the end of the? No, that's the end.
In between the properties and the daycare, there are 2 houses.
Right.
One house that is in a small lot and another house that is in a bigger lot. And then they have the daycare, and then going west, there is another apartment building.
Do we know if that other property, which I know you guys don't own that, is also a daycare? Are we,
No, no.
Is there 2 competing companies?
It's a single family house.
No, I'm saying the one all the way to the right, the one with the little playground. Is that also a
No,
daycare?
that belongs to them.
That's-
That is their
That
main
is
daycare.
theirs. Okay,
Yes.
okay.
That is their main original daycare. Then they
And then
go
there's
to
the other
of
one that's
the
16
smaller
years.
Properties, they
Right.
came for a parking variance, another
So
variance,
there's
and
gonna
now
be-
they bought another one.
There's gonna be a residential house between the 2. If they do
Two residences
between the
between,
2.
yes.
There already is. It's been like that for 16 years.
And that other school has a lot of students as well?
The other one's a daycare.
It's the
bigger-
daycares, does it have a lot of kids as well?
42.
Until what time is that one open?
Till 6. Yeah.
So then you'll have parents coming in by 6 o'clock for both properties, for both schools at
Yeah.
the same time.
It's been like that, yeah, for 16 years. And it's only, like I said, the window of pickup and drop off is very small. They go, they pick up their kids, they get off the car, get their kids, put them in the car and they leave. And it's only during school days. We're not there weekends. We're not there.
How many teachers do they have?
9 teachers
9 teachers on the
In both.
421.
in both
In both.
combined.
How many on 421 and how many on 441?
2 and 7.
2 and 7. And how many will be in the aftercare? 420 and on the 445.
Just one.
So you have 7, 8, 10 teachers, and where do they park?
They park in the motel because the motel has always granted us parking because they have such a huge parking lot. And in the back of the motel is very vacant. And they've never had any issues with us parking there in all the years we've been there.
To the chair, I think we've heard enough. I think it's time to vote.
Yeah.
Especially after what we heard right now. There's
Yeah.
not even a parking for the teachers.
We've been there 20 years. Parking's
I
never been an
understand that,
issue.
but this is absurd. You have no parking for the teachers. You're parking in the motel. That's not even your business. I apologize.
We also park,
Why
we can
not-
park in the street. We can
why
park in
not
front of the
knock
daycare. We've never
down-
had any issues in 20 years.
Why not knock-
The issues, the one that you're bringing up now, but.
Why not knock down the building that you purchased and use it as a parking lot? Like Deborah said, that's a great idea. She suggested the motion to deny. She's the city planner. She sees the restrictions and the problems that it may cause around you. You're parking in the parking lot of the motel.
Would you buy a house to knock it down?
To make a parking lot for my business and I expand my business, yes.
A parking that we've never had any issues with for
No,
20 years.
obviously you have an issue with parking. You parking in the hotel parking lot. How can you say it's
Because
not an
we've
issue
always
with
been
parking?
granted parking there. We've never had any issues. That's
But
why
it's not your-
that's why
but
we've
it-
been able to expand. That's why we've been able
But
to
it makes no
expand.
sense to me that you have your own business, but you're parking
And
in
by the way,
hotel parking
three of the
lot.
teachers don't have cars. Don't have cars.
I wish you the best of luck, and I swear to God, I want you to succeed. If you could expand your own business by the building that you have right now, the students, maybe you could grow that one. There's always up. Remember, there's not, don't box yourself in and think that you have to go wide. There's always a way to go up, the second floor. Design the building differently. There's always something you could do. That building that you purchased now could be parking. Yes, you sometimes have to make sacrifices. Knock down a building to make room for parking. Let's say do it all the time. I'd rather see that.
We don't
And if
have
it
the
was-
pockets to go up, unfortunately. I know you think we live in a big house
I'm
now,
not-
but we
I'm
don't have the
not-
vertical pockets to go up.
But if you're able to buy another house, it is what it is. There's business loans. There's a lot of things good out there that have opportunities. I wish you the best of luck. You just told me that you're parking in the parking lot of the hotel. And you're saying there's no parking problem. Obviously, there's a parking. problem.
Obviously, there is. I
I apologize to you,
Thank
but
you,
like I
John.
said,
Thank
once
thank you,
again,
John. I have to commend you on the fact that you own those 3 properties. Okay, thank you for buying property in the city. But, it's, okay, think from my perspective. Think of the one single-family home. I know that you said that you've been there for eons. Think of the impact to the one single-family home between both of your businesses. Imagine what they're going through.
They're actually phenomenal friends of us.
Okay.
A lot of people
yeah.
have no parking signs in front of their houses all over the city of Hialeah. A lot of
So-
people in the city of Hialeah have no parking signs.
That being said, do we have any more questions?
No.
Do we have any questions from the board, from the audience? Any question from Zoom? Closes the part of public hearing. What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve?
Okay.
Aye.
Motion to?
Approve. Approve.
Okay,
I think,
we had it pending.
did
We had,
Mr. Uyoya, he put the motion on the table.
we had it
first.
pending, yeah, to deny. So let's consider his first. Let's see if we can get a second. We'll take a vote on it. If we doesn't go anywhere, then we'll consider your approval with a second and see how far it goes. Okay, we have a motion to deny by Mr. Uyar.
Who you are?
John.
Second.
We have a
Second by Mrs. Enriquez. Mr. Jimenez,
No.
Mr. Casanova,
Yes.
Mr. D. Perez,
Yes.
Mrs. Enriquez,
Yes.
Mr. Amon,
It's a tough one. You want to pass to the next one and then? Well, do we have another board member that you
Yeah.
need to call on?
Mr. Iglesias,
Yes.
Mr. Ulloa,
That was you.
Yes.
yes, item, motion to deny has passed.
Okay, so
apologize and good luck. Bless you, man. You don't live here. You're not a constituent. I understand
Okay.
that, but I apologize to you. I'm telling you, you really should look at other ideas. I want to say something. I don't like saying no. to people. I mean that. But I'm more concerned about Darcy. And when Deborah's suggestion is to deny it, I take that very heavy. He's been doing this for a very long time. Look at the way he's acting.
Yeah.
And he's supposed to be a person that taking care of kids. He's hitting our building or doing whatever he's doing right now. And we were considering giving it to him. This is absurd. People come here para buscar manguito bajo. Hialeah. Okay, why? Because it's inexpensive. And then in other places that it's easy. And for some reason, we say yes a lot. Deborah said deny. And that was her suggestion. We should really, really consider why she's saying no. They're parking in the hotel parking lot.
That's what he lost.
Enough said. That's it.
Even though I took a pass right now.
Yeah.
It's
You know, because-
absurd to tell me that you could run your business and say you have sufficient parking and you're parking in the hotel parking lot.
John,
I
I,
apologize if anybody was offended or the way
No,
that
I
I
don't.
acted, but the way that he behaved right now showed that he did not deserve a yes at all. The slamming or punching, whatever he punched. out
whatever it
there,
was, yeah.
Whatever it was, totally unprofessional.
I agree with you 100%. I do need to just bring one point out. We are a deliberating body. She suggests, she has done her due diligence with her staff. She has researched and she suggests
We should really
what,
take that
uh,
suggestion
hear me out,
serious.
please. Hear me out, please. She suggests what, in her opinion, based on facts and based on research and whatnot and law and code, her suggestion is, does carry weight. However, we are a deliberating body. We can, not that I want to, but we can override her recommendation. Just like whatever the outcome is from our recommendation here, it goes to the council. The council can basically wipe the floor with our recommendation. Just like when it comes to the mayor can veto anything before that. So please keep an open mind. Deborah, it is there's no hard feelings. I'm just stating the facts as they are. Do not get closed in because she said deny. She's human. Her staff is human. They could very easily have overlooked a point. That's why we're here to find out what the applicant is all about. Now, me personally, I'm happy that they own all that property. They're paying taxes here for the city. But the moment it comes out to the air that they're having 2 single-family homes encapsulated between their businesses, the fact that they don't have parking, that right there, that right there, just in the,
So,
right, that
what I was
right
gonna-
there, it just,
What I
To
was
me,
gonna ask,
it's
how-
done.
How did their business get this far with no parking? How did,
so I agree with
The
you.
daycare was there for many years. When they came with the little house, I remember that.
Mhm.
You were there.
Yeah.
And I recommended it. And it was approved because they say, well, it's only to take care of the kids that go there, that in the afternoon go there for the aftercare. And then it's not enough. And also it's a sign there that says private school. So
Right.
they say it's not a school, but I know it's a school.
only reason I saw like no issue in my point of view is because they were gonna transfer these kids on, like without going to the sidewalk.
No, no, no.
Yeah.
So
They
that's
have
why I
to go
asked.
sidewalk, Because they had the other 2 houses in the middle. Have to go to the sidewalk. and do
No,
it.
no,
not in
no.
this
No, I asked
Yeah.
them,
Not
I
in that
asked them
case.
clearly. Hold on, before David, are we okay to start discussing this after the? Okay, because we're still in a public meeting, even though they left. I asked them clearly, do you transfer the kids from one property to the other outside the property or internally?
I'm gonna tell you no. The same way he told you there was plenty of parking. He told you there was plenty of parking. They parked at the hotel.
The rest of the board, please understand, I'm not coming down on y'all, I'm not coming down on anybody. I'm just merely stating the facts. You're an attorney, you know where I'm coming from. You know, we are a deliberating body. We have to get to the bottom of it, get to the meat and potato. So,
And the small little house that we granted the variance in the past, the front, it was supposed to be a space for 2 cars and isn't practical.
Oh, that left me thinking when he said he parks in the
Okay.
motels, you know, it's like, how do you open up a business when there's no parking?
listen, it's,
Because
thank you, John.
in the past-
You came through again. Thank you. No. All right, next item.
LU 3, small scale map amendment from industrial to commercial. Property is located at 7551 West Fourth Avenue, Hialeah Zone M1 Industrial District. Applicant Alejandro J. Arias, Esquire, on behalf of Prestige 7551 LLC.
Board members, Alejandro Arias, 701 Brickell Avenue.
Alex, did you swear in?
I think I showed up after that, so I'll need to swear.
Want to do the honors?
Do you affirm to tell the truth before this board?
Thank you.
So the property in this application is located at the northeast intersection of Red Road and West 75th Street. The property has industrial land use and is located 1 block north of the south border of an industrial enclave originally developed in the 60s that, starting in 2017, is gradually being transformed into a mixed-use district. The 58-acre area is informally known as the Amelia District. The properties north, east, and west of the subject property have industrial land use, and the properties to the east have low and medium density residential land use. One of the industrial properties north of the subject property is developed as mixed commercial residential under the MBD overlay, and the property at the northeast corner of Red Road and West 74th Street had its land use recently changed to commercial. The applicant is before the city requesting a land use change from industrial to commercial in relation to a proposal to retrofit an existing industrial building built in 1971. This is a continuation of a retrofit effort that already started with the land use change of another industrial building located at 7445 West 4th Avenue, 1 block south of the subject property. The site is served by Pump Station 30307, which is in OH status and allows unconditional allocation, but will require a sewer hydraulic analysis. Traffic-wise, the proposed development will not generate more than 3,000 trips, so a traffic impact analysis is not required. Existing signals, turning lanes on Red Road, and the adjacent street network have the conditions to absorb the traffic flow that the redevelopment of the site would generate. A safe pedestrian crossing on West 74th Place will be built to facilitate the use of the existing sidewalks on the south side of West 74th Place that serve to connect the site with the Amelia Earhart Park. As the district evolves, backout parking on city's right-of-way shall be eliminated and safer pedestrian connections shall be built. Such first improvements will take place on the north side of West 74th Place. The proposed land use change is consistent with the city comprehensive plan, particularly with policies 1.4.3, 1.4.9, and 1.6.8 of the future land use element. The requested land use is compatible with the area and more harmonious with existing and in progress residential uses than the existing one. As a result, the requested land use change is recommended for approval.
Thank you. Alex?
Presentation.
Yeah, I'll put it up.
Good evening once again, board members. Alejandro Arias, representing these companies. We're grateful for the opportunity to be before you this evening with another exciting and transformational project in the Amelia District. Slide, he said. Property is located at 7551 West 4th Avenue, fronting on West 4th Street, a major corridor in the city.
Fourth Avenue.
4th Avenue. The site is located just a block north of 7445 West 4th Avenue, which is located at the intersection of West 74th Place and 4th Avenue. This is the Amelia Live project that came before you a couple of months ago, maybe about a month ago, when they got their land use change from industrial to commercial. That is the first and the complementary phase of this transition of the neighborhood. And this is the second phase of this proposed commercial adaptive reuse effort. Next slide. So you're familiar with this property as it's currently the site of the Balsang retail. On this particular property, the applicant envisions a first-class retail, commercial, entertainment destination, so restaurants, coffee shops, neighborhood serving uses that will complement what's already been built within that neighborhood and what's coming within that neighborhood. So the request today is the first step of the process, which is a land use change to redesignate the site from industrial to commercial. We'll then need to come before you with the rezoning. At that point, we'll have a more specific developed conceptual plan and development program, more specifics. But right now, it's just the land use change, which is really the first phase. Next slide, please. This proposed project will serve, again, to further activate the redevelopment and transformation of West 4th Avenue and the Amelia District. The Amelia District itself is a groundbreaking master plan district that has served to realize a vision for a true mixed-use neighborhood where residential uses are within walking distance of retail and neighborhood uses in a symbiotic relationship. Which up to now, you have the Romanita restaurant, which has really caught fire. And you see that this area of the city has really become a Hialeah destination. Next slide. Additionally, across West 4th Avenue, you have two significant residential projects just across from this property. You have the Manor Hialeah, which is a large-scale project at the former dog kennel site. Next slide. Ultimately, within this area and this pocket, it's estimated there's approximately 1,464 units that are currently developed or in the pipeline to come into the market. So this project is just one of those complementary uses that will meet the commercial demand of all of these rooftops that are coming online and will actually complete the vision of more than just a residential neighborhood, but really a mixed-use place where people can work, play, and live. Next slide. This is just a conceptual rendering of what the applicant is thinking. Again, at the time when we come back with the rezoning request, we'll have a much more detailed site plan and much more detailed development program. But these are just some of the conceptual renderings that they have in mind. As you can tell, it's a large scale improvement from what's there today. Slide. Ultimately, this request is consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan and is set forth in staff's favorable recommendation. The requested land use change is compatible with the area and the existing and in progress residential development throughout the surrounding neighborhood and will positively contribute to the area's infrastructure and continued revitalization. As such, we respectfully request your recommendation. I'm here to answer any questions.
Thank you, Alex. Comments or questions from the board?
Will you be tearing down the Varsan building?
No,
Or
so
reusing
it'll be
it?
an adaptive reuse. We'll use the shell, but we will upgrade the interior and bring everything to as modern as possible.
Anyone else? We do need more with all the people that are moving in there and all the future planning and building and whatnot. You need some.
And I mentioned La Romanita because I know that place has really
It's
it's become a hit.
Yeah. You need the, well,
That's
it's going to
just
be
one of
difficult to
them.
get one as much of a hit as that one, but again,
Hope so.
bring them in, man, bring them in. Any more comments or questions from the board? Anyone in the audience have a comment or question? Anyone in the electronic audience? This is part of public hearing. What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve.
Second that motion?
Motion, Mr. Gamon and Mr. Iglesias, second by Mr. Casanova. Mr. Ulloa? Mr. Casanova?
Yes.
Mr. D. Perez?
Yes.
Mr. Gamon?
Yes.
Mrs. Enriquez?
Yes.
Mr. Iglesias?
Yes.
Mr. Jimenez?
Yes.
Item has been approved.
Okay, that concludes the land use part of the meeting. No, we're not done. I see you, I see you packing. We're not done. We will now move on to the regularly scheduled planning and zoning meeting. So done for one, and we're opening the next one.
Item number 1, approval of Planning and Zoning Board summary agenda of October 26, 2022 as submitted.
Need a motion or a second? please?
Motion to approve?
Second that motion.
Motion by Mr. Casanova, second by Mr. Iglesias. Mr. Gamon?
Yes.
Mr. Iglesias?
Yes.
Mr. Jimenez?
Yes.
Mr. Casanova?
Yes.
Mr. Ulloa?
Yes.
Mrs. Enriquez?
Yes.
Mr. D. Perez?
Yes.
Item has been approved. A written decision and resolution will be prepared and presented for review to the City Council. The City Council is authorized to affirm with conditions, or override the decisions by resolution. After the resolution is adopted, contact a member of the City Clerk's office to obtain a copy of the final decision and resolution. Upon your receipt of the final decision and resolution, contact the Building Department to obtain your required building permit. Summary minutes or a copy of the audio file of the proceedings before the Planning and Zoning Board shall be prepared and submitted to the City Council before its hearing. The Planning and Zoning Board recommendations for the following public hearing requests will be heard at the City Council at a scheduled meeting of Tuesday, December 13th, 2022. Okay, so item number 2 needs to be withdrawn to be re-advertised. Let me just read the address. 7445 West 4th Avenue. So no action on item number 2.
Okay, no action.
Item number 3. Okay, so how do you want it? This is a tabled item. Do you want to untable it and then I read it into the record?
Are they here?
Yes.
Yeah, we need to remove it from table. So can we get a motion to remove?
Motion to remove from table?
Second that motion.
Okay, motion by Mr. Casanova, second by Mr. Iglesias and Mr. Gamon. Mrs. Enriquez?
Yes.
Mr. Jimenez?
Yes.
Mr. Iglesias?
Yes.
Mr. Casanova?
Yes.
Mr. Ulloa?
Yes.
Mr. D. Perez?
Yes.
Mr. Gamon?
Yes.
Item has been removed from table. Item number 3, rezoning property from R1, 1 family district to R2, 1 and 2 family residential district. Variance permit to allow a duplex on a substandard lot having a frontage of 60 feet and a total lot area of 6,000 square feet, or 75 feet frontage, and 7,500 square feet is the minimum required, and allow 20 feet front setback where 25 feet are required. Property is located at 830 East 16th Place. Hialeah zoned R1, 1 family district. Applicant, Elier Martin.
Elier Martin? Name and address, please.
838 16th place.
Name? Nombre?
Lier Martin.
Thank you.
The property in this application is located on the south side of East 16th Place, east of East 8th Court, within the Santa Village subdivision. The applicant purchased a house in 2021, and the site was improved with a 1-story single-family house built in 1949, with an addition for a new kitchen built in 1981. Until 2021, the property had a nice grass front yard, only interrupted by a walkway and 2 concrete ribbons for vehicular access to the attached carport. Now the property is under construction. It's a 2-story house that is being built as a single-family home. The neighborhood includes 1- and 2-story single-family homes with grass front yards and landscape swale areas, and most of the properties within the 500-foot radius are zoned R1, with the exception of 2 properties on the north side of East 14th Place that was rezoned to R2 through variances granted in 2015 and in 2020. Only one of those properties has a second floor addition and is now a duplex, while the other one remains a single-family home. However, other existing R1 zone properties in the immediate area have 2 living units as per the Miami-Dade County Property Appraisal web. The applicant is before the city requesting rezoning from R1 to R2 in order to convert the second story currently under construction into a second living unit. An asphalted parking area is proposed at the front of the building was proposed as an asphalted area with cars backing out into the street. The applicant worked with the city. He changed the site plan and now he has a new site plan that has pavers and has landscaping. You have that new site plan? So he's proposing to build a brick paver or similar driveway in a setting that would allow the parking of 2 cars on the side of the building and 2 at the front. Improved landscaping is also proposed at the front with a canopy tree, cocoa plant shrubs, and a liriope bed next to the entrance. The recommendation with this setting is approval.
Thank you, Mrs. Stewart. Any comments or questions?
Wanted to keep this property for my family. I want to have my kids living there.
Okay. Thank you. Comments or questions from the board? Go ahead.
Thank you for taking the time and suggestions from the last meeting and listening to Deborah, and communicating with her and making it the proper way. Really appreciate that. Thank you.
And keeping it a family home.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The house, I don't know if you passed by, but the house looks very nice. I was driving the other day, I was stuck in traffic and then I looked and I said, oh, what a nice house. And then I went by and I looked at it and I realized it was this one. So it's very nice.
Any more comments or questions? Anyone in the audience have a comment or question? Anyone in the electronic audience? Okay, what's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve.
Second that motion?
Motion, Mr. Iglesias, second by Mr. Casanova. Mr. D. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Amon,
Yes.
Mr. Iglesias,
Yes.
Mrs. Enriquez,
Yes.
Mr. Jimenez,
Yes.
Mr. Ulloa,
Yes.
Mr. Casanova.
Yes.
Item has been approved.
Thank you.
Item number 4, rezoning property from A Agricultural District to R33 Multiple Family District. Property is located at 10 West 53rd Terrace, Hialeah Zone A Agricultural District. Applicant Pedro Felipe Alvarez Pena.
Name and address, please.
Pedro Álvarez.
Y la dirección.
La dirección, nombre y dirección.
10 West 53 Terra.
¿Usted prestó juramento?
¿Usted jura decir la verdad ante este consejo?
Thank you.
The property in this application is located at the southwest corner of Palm Avenue and West 53rd Terrace, and its rear property line is adjacent to the Little River Canal. The property has its land use recently changed to medium-density residential in relation to a proposal to redevelop the site with a new 2-story, 4-unit multifamily building. At this time, the applicant is before the city requesting rezoning from A to R33 in order to get the zoning consistent with the medium-density residential land use. The low scale of the proposed building makes it compatible with the low-density residential uses on the west, where 2.5 stories is the allowed height. The proposed development complies with all zoning requirements. Its location fronting Palm Avenue and across the street from a shopping plaza and multifamily development merits the increased density where the subject property will act as a buffer. In light of the above considerations, the requested rezoning should be approved. The recommendation is approved.
Thank you. Looks like Manny's been designing these buildings here.
No, it wasn't.
It looks like a Manny building.
Maybe they got inspired.
You see it, Manny? Looks like one of your buildings.
¿Quiere la traducción?
Yeah,
¿Quiere
go
la
ahead.
traducción? La propiedad en esta aplicación está ubicada en la esquina sudoeste de Palm Avenue y la West 53rd Terrace. Y su línea posterior está adyacente al Little River Canal. La propiedad recién tuvo su land use cambiado a Medium Density Residential en relación a una propuesta para redesarrollar el terreno con una nueva construcción de 4 unidades multifamiliares en 2 plantas. En este momento el aplicante está ante la ciudad solicitando rezonificación de A, Distrito Agricultural, a R33, para poder tener una zonificación consistente con el land use de Medium Density Residential. La escala de la construcción propuesta la hace compatible con los usos de baja densidad hacia el oeste, donde 2 pisos y medio se permiten. El desarrollo propuesto cumple con todos los requerimientos de zonificación. Su ubicación dando frente a Palm Avenue y del otro lado de la calle de un shopping plaza y un desarrollo de viviendas multifamiliares, amerita la densidad aumentada, donde la propiedad va a actuar como un buffer. De acuerdo a estas consideraciones, la rezonificación solicitada debe ser aprobada. La recomendación es aprobación.
Thank you.
Look how simple it is when there are no variances and they open the code and they design by the code and it's only a...
That's why I say it looks like a Manny design.
So he came very early with the architects. We sat together. They had another proposal. We went over the proposal. They changed, they understood the idea. They came with that.
Any comments or questions? ¿Alguna pregunta o comentario que quiera añadir? No? Okay. Comments or questions from the board? Anyone in the audience? Anyone in the electronic audience? What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve.
Second that motion.
Motion by Mr. Casanova, second by Mr. Iglesias. Mr. Ramon?
Yes.
Mr. Iglesias?
Yes.
Mrs. Enriquez?
Yes.
Mr. Jimenez?
Yes.
Mr. Casanova?
Yes.
Mr. Ulloa? Mr. D. Perez?
Yes.
Item has been approved. Tiene que regresar diciembre 13. 13. Item number 5, rezoning property located at 1261 Southeast 8th Court from R1 One Family District to R32 Multiple Family District for the development of a 23-unit multifamily mixed-use building. Variance permit to allow 2 residential units on the ground floor, where residential units are allowed above the ground floor. Allow 12 residential units with area of 720 square feet, where 850 square feet is the minimum required, and only 10% of the units, 2 units, may have an area of 600 square feet. Allowed 11 feet front setback, where 10 feet built-to-line setback is required. Allow 8% pervious area, where 30% is the minimum pervious area required, and allow 50 parking spaces, where 71 parking spaces are required. Property is located at 1251 Southeast 8th Court, 1261 Southeast 8th Court, and folio number 043120 011 0280. Hialeah zoned R1 One Family District and R32 Multiple Family District within Area 3 of the Neighborhood Business District overlay. Applicant Dan Espino, Esquire on behalf of Pacific Development Corp.
You're on number 5? Sure.
You're okay?
I'm looking at it. It says Melissa Tapanes, but
Yeah,
he doesn't look like Melissa.
yeah, but I said his name because he's the one that's.
Ah, see, you threw me for a loop.
Sorry for the confusion, Mr. Chair. I know she's better to look at than I am.
That's what I'm saying. Well, wait a minute. Okay, and name and address, please.
Pleasure to be before all of you again. Danny Espino from Burkell on behalf of Melissa Tappan, one of our partners. 200 200 South Biscayne Boulevard, Miami, along with Manny Russo, project architect.
Thank you. She'll read it into the record and we'll go from there.
So
The property in this application is located at the southwest intersection of Palm Avenue and West 25th Street, across the street from Hialeah Park, within Area 1 of the neighborhood. What?
Yeah, well.
Ah, yes, sorry. No, I passed it, it's true.
It has been an interesting meeting, hasn't it been?
Who's on a roll? I don't want
No,
to.
but that is yours too. That's why I don't know why I got it. The property, this means that you're paying attention. That's good. I did it on purpose. The property in this application includes 3 parcels, 2 lots and part of a tract, and is located on the east side of Southeast 8th Court, north of Okeechobee Road. The property is within Area 3 of the Neighborhood Business District Overlay and 3 blocks west of the Hialeah Market Tri-Rail Station. It encompasses 0.64 acres, has medium-density residential land use, and is zoned R1 and R32. The 2 lots on the south portion of the site are improved with an office building and a parking lot, and the northern portion of the site is improved with a single-family home built in 1935. The property immediately south of the site is on C3 and is improved with a 51-room motel. And the adjacent property to the north has R32 zoning and major institutions land use and is improved with a church. The properties across the street are zoned C2 and R1, where the C2 zone property is improved with a 30-room motel, and the R1 properties are a city park, 3 Friends Park. The applicant is before the city with a proposal to redevelop the site with a new 4-story mixed-use building, including 3,700 square feet of commercial space and 23 apartments, 14 one-bedroom units and 9 two-bedroom units, under the MBD regulations, proposing a density of 36 units per acre. To redevelop the property as proposed, the applicant is requesting rezoning of the R1 zone property from R1 to R32, and variances to allow 2 residential units on the ground floor, where residential units are allowed only above the ground floor, allow 12 residential units with area of 720 square feet, where 850 square feet is the minimum allowed. Allow 11 feet front setback, where 10 feet built to line is required. Allow 8% pervious area, where 30% is the minimum required, and allow 50 parking spaces, where 71 spaces are required. The rezoning from R1 to R3 shall be approved because it will make the zoning consistent with existing land use. The variance to allow 2 residential units on the ground floor shall also be allowed, since the proposed plan already provides for the required commercial frontage facing the street. The reduced size of the 1-bedroom units shall also be approved, since the proposed size allows affordability while it is still functional. The 11 feet front setback is minimal and shall be approved. The reduced pervious area shall also be approved because a drainage system will be provided. As for the parking variance, the proposed 50 parking spaces will provide 1 parking space for the 1-bedroom units, 2 parking spaces for the 2-bedroom units, and 14 parking spaces for the commercial units that may be used by the residents after hours. Given that the property is located at walking distance of the Hialeah Market Tri-Rail Station, 1 stop away from a major employment center such as Miami International Airport, connecting to the Tri-County area and to the Metro Rail, it is very likely that future residents will use transit and therefore have lesser parking demands. Accordingly, the parking variances could be approved, provided that the commercial uses are limited to uses with reduced parking demands, mostly oriented to service the neighborhood, avoiding medical uses, daycares, and schools. The recommendation is approved with this condition.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, board members, and staff, and Deborah, thank you for the recommendation. Can we pull up the presentation, please? I'll try to go through it quickly because Deborah did a great job presenting for us. Next slide, please.
All right, Hilton.
This is a nice aerial that gives you a bird's eye view of the property. It's 3 parcels that operate as 2 right now. One, as I mentioned, has a single family home, the other one has an office. To the north is a church with institutional, actually technically medium density residential on that, but it's got an institution on it right now. To the south, commercial, and behind it is actually high density residential. Next slide, please. Here's a slide that shows the land use medium density residential for all three parcels, even the one that has a single family home on it. Next slide, please. And so part of the request is to certainly bring the zoning into consistency with the land use. Identifying the parcels to the south as having an incompatible zoning with the land use. Next slide, please. This is an excerpt of the neighborhood business district map. This is area 3. Certainly, this has been on the city's eyes for some time for intensification and improving that area overall. Certainly, the city council and the mayor want to see intensification of this corridor, and this is a great transition as you start getting closer away from Okeechobee, in between these two different uses of church and motel. Next slide. These are existing conditions. For those of you that drive Okeechobee, know it's not the most, this area is not the prettiest. It needs dramatic improvement. Unfortunately, the uses are not compatible with the neighborhood. With the institutional uses, with intensification of Okeechobee, the motel uses, certainly the idea is to try and bring up that entire area, and certainly this could be one of several shoes to drop in the area to make that happen. The proposed project on this next slide, and I'll have the architect Manny bring into a little bit more detail. In my humble opinion, there's a lot going on in a little project. It's modest, but it has a combination of certainly the retail on the first floor and a variety of units, both not only in terms of size, but also in bedrooms, so you can have a variety of people that come and live on the site, affordability, as well as larger units, 2 bedrooms, or for families that start to get a little bit bigger. And I'll get Manny to step in and start talking about the project a little bit.
Good evening. Manny Rose, architect with offices at 18501 Pines Boulevard, Suite 343, Pembroke Pines, Florida. Basically, what we're doing here is something that will enhance the neighborhood drastically, and it will be one of the first projects of this design in the area, and it will basically start changing this corridor, which is much needed. And we've broken it down with a commercial on the front, which will be, Deborah, will be control as to who goes in there or not, for the parking issues and so forth. And basically, we've broken it down into X amount of units for 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms, et cetera. And we feel very comfortable with the project, and I think it will be a very beautiful and exciting project for the city.
Over a little bit again, Deborah mentioned on the first floor, retail of 3,700 square feet on the front. On the rear of the property where retail is and other commercial is simply not viable, 2 ground floor units. Those ground floor units would be ADA accessible. And so that's also an added bonus for the property. Then thereafter, it's 7 units per floor with the 3 2-bedroom on the front and 4 1-bedrooms in the rear to get the entire density. Dedicated ingress and egress, one way in either direction, and enhanced streetscape and landscape, which again, the area sorely needs it, respectfully. Next slide. Next, yeah, you can go to the next couple slides.
That one?
Yeah, absolutely. Proposed site plan. You can see one thing I want to draw your attention is it's a little bit easier to read here. One thing is to see it on pictures and say it around it, what is available. And to think that this property is surrounded by much more intense, and you've got single family homes. I certainly understand that there's a desire to maintain single family homes, but in this particular area, you need a buffer. And you need something that fits in the character of that and uplift it a little bit. And the single family home simply will not do that in this area. You can see the greenery, you can see the access drive in on the right and access drive out on the left. Streetscape parking along the frontage. Next slide, please. Ground floor plan, the boxes in blue are the residential units in the rear. You have the commercial in the front, boxed in red. Next slide. And then this is just a typical floor plan. As I mentioned, 4 units in the rear are this 1 bedroom, and the larger 2 bedrooms are towards the front. Next slide. To conform to NBD, and when you intensify an area like this, it's not uncommon. Need some adjustments as you intensify. As Deborah mentioned, our requests are relatively minor. We mentioned the 2 ground floor units just to accommodate a viable use in the rear. Unit sizes, as I mentioned, critical to have that variety, bring different levels of affordability to it. Front setback minor just to accommodate the landscaping and the other improvements to the front. Pervious area, we will have appropriate drainage to accommodate the reduction in the impervious area. One thing I will say about the neighborhood business district is that while the default is provided for parking in chapter 98, there is the ability to bring forward an analysis as to why there should be a reduction. And as Deborah mentioned, when you have a mix of uses, it affects trips to the site. It also affects parking. There's internal capture. That is people that are going to go to the retail that live in the building aren't going to move their car again. So they just go right downstairs. And certainly, so the idea that the retail, once it shuts down, becomes available, whether it's visitor parking or additional rental or tenant parking, that'll work concurrently. Next slide, we'll wrap up. The approvals for the city council rezoning and the variances, and then we'll be back for the city for site planning concurrency. This is a good project, so it'll be a rental for the community. It'll bring additional housing to an area, and it'll be one of the, as I mentioned at the top of the conversation, one of the first projects in the area that will hopefully work to uplift the area. So happy to answer any questions, and I appreciate your support for it.
Thank you.
In a few years, you won't recognize this here because I cannot say what, but across the street from this property, there will be a big redevelopment. So this corner, yeah,
I have a question here.
Hace falta por ahí, ¿oíste?
va a cambiar totalmente.
Yeah.
He needs it for the airport.
I have a question, Deborah, and it may be a little trivial, but in all the time that I've been on this board, there has always been a thing. It's right next to public transport, public transit, Metro Rail, Tri-Rail, what have you. Okay. Has there been any, or is there any concrete evidence or numbers as to, do people actually use mass transit that move into these places, or has that been established?
Yes, and also there are studies not by me, but by the transit authorities that if you put residential next to the stations, that fosters the usage. So the more users you have, the better frequency you can give, and one thing works with the other one. And now you know traffic is so bad that if you have the chance, if you work, for example, at the airport, you won't drive because of what you have to pay for the parking. You will use the train. If you work probably in Brickell, you can go to the Tri-Rail, then you take the Metro Rail and you're there. So yeah, young people use them.
No, I know. I'm with you 100% on that. It's just that I've always been curious because it is a good selling point. Oh, you're right next to Tri-Rail. You're next to Metro Rail. You have access to mass transit, on and on. It's a good selling point, but I never really have seen any.
I live 2 blocks from the new Aventura Bright Line station.
Right.
I am eager to use that all the time. I want to go to downtown.
Go downtown and then take Metro Rail.
Yeah. No, I take the Bright Line and I am there. Yeah. If you have the facility there, believe me.
Just make sure you sit in the back, not in the front. With all the accidents that they have there. You sit in the front, you sit in the back.
Yeah, that's another history, another story.
Anyway, I just wanted to ask that because and like I said, in all the time I've heard of, it is a big plus for such a development, but I never really seen or heard of actual data substantiating the fact that that people do use mass transit. But
if you're a young couple and you have to pay the rental prices that they have now, and you can live with one car, you will live with one.
Exactly right. I mean, the idea is to accommodate different types of lifestyles that many of us that live in Miami-Dade County are just not accustomed to. But increasingly, if you are near an option, if you are within a half mile of a transit, or sometimes a 5-minute walk, they'll say, or a short Uber ride to a way that gets you out of your car, out of I-95 traffic. Whoever thought that traffic was going to roar as bad as it is right now after COVID, saying that office room hasn't been on I-95 lately. And so if you can create a place where people can live and take alternatives, so they don't have to get in the car, it's becoming an increasingly attractive option for many, many people.
And remember, this is 2 blocks from the TOD. We already have one development that we approved that is coming. We have the entertainment district. It's
Yeah.
an area that will be booming soon.
It was just out of curiosity.
Any comments or questions?
To the board, to the
Yes.
chair. The conditions is the limitations on commercial use. Is
On
that what
the
it is?
type of uses, yes.
Okay.
We're happy to covenant that.
Okay. Especially no medical office.
No,
because,
I would have advocated for that anyway.
Mr. Chair, I have a question. So you'll
Yes,
be
sir.
proffering the declaration
Covenant, yeah.
covenant for the conditions.
Any more comments or questions?
There's just one way in, one way out.
All the projects that we do, I run them through the fire department. Rick Gonzalez, who's a friend for the years, and this is one of the projects that I took personally, of course, and he's given us the green light as to the fire department's pre-approval for the project when it comes in eventually for construction documents.
Thank you. Okay, anyone in the audience have a comment or question? Anyone in the electronic audience? Let's depart public hearing. What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve with conditions.
Second that motion.
Motion by Mr. Iglesias, second by Mr. Casanova. Mrs. Enriquez,
Yes.
Mr. Jimenez,
Yes.
Mr. Iglesias,
Yes.
Mr. Ulloa, Mr. Casanova,
Yes.
Mr. D. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Amon.
Yes.
Item has been approved.
Thank you very much, board members. Have a good evening.
Say, give Melissa my regards.
Her over me.
No. It's just that, it is what it is.
Item number six, variance permit to allow front setback of 6 feet where 10 built to line are required. Allow street side setback of 6.1 feet or 10 feet built to line are required. And allow 45 parking spaces where 68 parking spaces are required. Property is located at 2450 through 2496 Palm Avenue. Hialeah Zone C2 Liberal Retail Commercial District within Area 1 of the MBD. There you go. Within Area 1 of the Neighborhood Business District overlay. Applicant Manny Rose.
Good evening again. Manny Rose Architect with offices at 18501 Pines Boulevard, Suite 342, actually, 786-302-0581, Pembroke Pines, Florida.
Yep.
Basically, go ahead, Deborah, I'm sorry.
The property in this application is located at the southwest intersection of Palm Avenue and West 25th Street, across the street from Hialeah Park within Area 1 of the Neighborhood Business District overlay, and at 8-minute walking distance from the Hialeah Metro Rail Station. The property is zone C2 and currently vacant after an existing old commercial building was demolished earlier this year. The stretch of the MBD where the property is located is going through a gradual renewal with a multifamily development in its finishing phase located at the southwest intersection of Palm Avenue and West 23rd Street. The recent renovation of a commercial building at the southwest intersection of Palm Avenue and West 26th Street, an upcoming multifamily development on Palm Avenue immediately north of the railroad tracks. The applicant is before the city with a proposal to build a 4-story mixed-use building, including 30 apartments with amenities on the ground floor facing the street that will provide active uses along a proposed expanded sidewalk, including artwork. The unit mix includes 6 2-bedroom units, 21 1-bedroom units, and 3 studios. The 2-bedroom units will be assigned 2 parking spaces. The 1-bedroom units and studios will be assigned 1 parking space, and 9 parking spaces will remain open for visitors or other arrangements to be determined by the building's management. To be able to develop the property as proposed, the applicant is requesting a variance to allow 6.1 feet front setback for 2 accent features on the ground floor, creating a portico, and for a terrace on the second floor intended also to provide articulation to the building facade. A variance is also needed for a staircase encroaching into the front setback on West 25th Street. A parking variance is also requested to allow 45 parking spaces where 68 are required. The front setback variance shall be approved since it minimally affects the ground floor, leaving room for the much desired wide sidewalk. The parking assignment, including 2 spaces for the larger units, 1 for the smaller units, and 9 open parking spaces, together with the proximity to Hialeah Metro Rail Station, make the parking arrangement logical, since smaller units and proximity to transit demands less parking. As a precedent, the property at Palm Avenue and West 23rd Street has been granted a parking variance in 2020 to allow 58% less parking than required, while the subject property is requesting only a 33% parking requirement reduction. In light of these considerations, the parking variance should be approved. As a side note, a parking variance granted to a property in 2013 through City of Hialeah, Florida Ordinance 2013 shall be repealed and rescinded, since it related to a proposal that never materialized and was related to a building that was demolished. The recommendation is approval.
Thank you. Manny?
Yes. We're here again to present another beautiful project in the city of Hialeah, and sort of with, of course, with the recommendation of Deborah on all aspects of the project, that we do our homework with her. If you want to start Gisela, if you want to start the slide, you can jump to the next slide. Basically, that's what the project is going to look like, fronting Palm Avenue. We do have a space on the ground floor, which is going to be building amenities, not commercial to be rented. They're going to be used for gymnasiums and computer areas and so forth. So they actually will not generate any parking, additional parking. So they're basically for the building, which is one of the things that we're starting to do a lot with our projects to alleviate the issue with the parking. Go ahead.
You can say
That's a corner view.
you can say that it looks very nice, and thanks also to Rosie.
Yes.
Put her hand there.
With us here, with me here is my wife, who's the brain behind the firm. I have to admit that. And then a new member of our team, Nicole, basically an architect from Argentina that's getting her feet wet with a small company like we have, which is learning every day. And some days I'm a pain in the butt with her, but that's part of the learning process. Anyway, that is the one of the nicest view, and also keep in mind that we're doing artwork part of our design. That would be the intersection of 25th Street and Palm Avenue on the left, and the racetrack is right across the street. Go ahead. This is a view from the back, and of course the parking, as you is always dedicated, non-visible from the front of the property, which is Palm Avenue, and even very little visibility from the street corner on 25th Street. Go ahead. That is a site showing the parking, showing the building. We're also introducing a beautiful pedestrian walk along Palm Avenue, which will generate sort of a nice ambience for pedestrians to use, in addition to the main sidewalk. Go ahead. This is the ground floor area showing the front area where the building amenities and the parking behind, and the sidewalk in the front, the oversized sidewalk. Go ahead, Gisela. These are the typical units. There's 3 floors over parking and the front area, where all the units are designed with a central corridor that is easily accessible, with the 2 stairs for exit requirements and the elevator and so forth. And also one other thing that we do a lot in our projects is we have trash rooms. We no longer are introducing the dumpster outside. We have a central located trash, so people don't have to carry their bags into the trash area. They just go out in the hallway and boom, bring it down, and then it goes into the compactor, and then the company comes in and picks it up. So there's no walk down or nothing. That's a plus in our projects. We're starting to do that a lot. Go ahead, Gisela. That's also the typical floor. Go ahead, Gisela. That's the elevation. That's a corner elevation in the bottom on 25th Street, and the upper one is fronting Palm Avenue. Go ahead, Gisela. And that is the rear elevation towards the multifamily buildings in the back. On the south side is commercial. Across the street on 25th, it's also commercial, which is an auto dealer. And then across the street is a Hialeah racetrack. Go ahead, Gisela.
That's it.
That's it.
That is the
All
last.
right. If anybody has any questions, please, I'd be more than glad to answer them, but this definitely will be an enhancement to the corridor of Palm Avenue.
So you're proposing to do a version a garbage version of the televator, a garbage vader.
Yes. Which is very much needed and.
You know what a televator is, right?
Yes.
You know, TV,
Yes.
you lift up and down.
Yes.
A garbage vader.
No, it was actually, it's a chute that goes down into a
Right.
compact.
Okay.
If anybody has any questions.
a
I'd be
great
more than
idea.
glad.
Really, really good. I don't notice, drive down the road, they have their dumpsters outside.
I know.
And they're over.
Always.
I know.
And it's horrible. And I think that all these buildings should have.
Yes.
That's great. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, because not only do the tenants of the building use it, everybody in the neighborhood, you know.
I would like to make sure that everybody understands on the board that nothing in our business, our firm is done without the consent of Deborah Storage. Because we love her recommendation and she's actually, I believe internally, off the record, part of our firm because she's always contributing ideas here and there and she's helping us tremendously all the time.
I don't really recall you ever having, well, maybe once, you ever bringing a project before us that it wasn't approved.
No.
So you,
We do our homework.
so you do,
before.
yeah, you do.
We do our homework.
Yeah, you do your due diligence. Okay, thank you. Comments or questions from the board?
Not at all.
Anyone in the audience?
I have a question, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Are we doing a declaration on any part of this, Deborah, for the parking or anything else?
We need to do, because always we do in the MBD, but it's mainly to link this to the site plan.
Okay, so it's just a link to the site plan and how the parking will be distributed.
And what you do with the construction dates and all those things that we usually, and no condo conversion, no
Oh.
condo conversion.
Well, that's a part of the DOR, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They cannot come, because many of these properties, since they are coming for a parking variance, and we have seen in the past that when there is a parking deficit and they come for condo conversion, many things happen. So since this will be a rental, they are proffering that they are not going to do condo conversion, and they are not going to do Airbnbs and short-term rentals. All that is what goes in that
Our
covenant.
clients, 100% of our clients are strictly rental. And that they're aware of the DOR, so they don't have a problem with that.
And also to avoid speculation, what that DOR says gives a time frame to get the permit to build. No, you cannot just come here, get all the entitlements, and then you never build.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Anyone in the audience? One in the electronic audience? It's the pleasure of the board.
Motion to approve?
Second that motion.
Motion by Mr. Casanova, second by Mr. Iglesias. Mr. Jimenez,
Yes.
Mr. Casanova,
Yes.
Mr. D. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Ulloa,
Yes.
Mrs. Enriquez,
Yes.
Mr. Gamon,
Yes.
Mr. Iglesias.
Yes.
Item has been approved.
Thank you.
Item number 7, variance permit to allowed 27% pervious area where 30% is the minimum required. Property is located at 809 West 79th Place, highly zoned R4 townhouses. Applicant Blanca Monte de Oca. That's Elisa.
Is that
Oh,
Elisa?
that's Elisa.
And
Lisa, you're muted. We can see you, but we can't hear you.
Yes, sir.
Ah, there you are. Elisa, can you please state your name and address, please?
Yes, sir. Elisa Garcia, 488 Palm Avenue, Hialeah, Florida, 33010.
Thank you, ma'am. She will read it into the record, then we can talk about it, okay?
Yes, sir.
The
Yeah.
property in this application is a two-story townhouse located on the north side of West 79th Place, west of 8th Avenue. The property is located within a very dense townhouse development built in the 1970s. A notice of violation was issued to the property in 2005 for building without permits for an addition on the ground floor at the rear of the unit. Building permit plans were submitted to the city in August of this year for the legalization of said addition, which includes a family room on the first floor with a gabled shingle roof. To be able to legalize the addition, the applicant is requesting a variance to allow 27% pervious area where 30% is the minimum required. Before a 2004 amendment to the R4 regulations, the addition would have also required setback and lot coverage variances as granted on similar surrounding properties. However, those variances are no longer required. The recommendation is approval.
Thank you. Lisa, do you have any comments or questions?
No, sir.
Okay, comments or questions from the board? Anyone in the audience have a comment or question on this item? Seems like you're the only one on Zoom, so anyone in Zoom have a comment or question? Closes the public hearing. What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Mr. Iglesias, second by Mr. Gamon. Mr. Ulloa? Ms. Enriquez?
Yes.
Mr. Casanova?
Yes.
Mr. D. Perez?
Yes.
Mr. Gamon?
Yes.
Mr. Iglesias?
Yes.
Mr. Jimenez?
Yes.
Item has been approved.
Thank you to the members of the board. And
Sorry
Deborah,
it took so long, but you know, hey, things
I
happen.
thank you. Enjoy your evening.
No, we're not. Hey, we got to you. Okay. Have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Item number 8, conditional use permit to allow a prescribed pediatric extended care, PPEC, with a maximum of 35 patients and 10 staff members. Property is located at 1022 East 8th Avenue, Hialeah Zone C2, Liberal Retail Commercial District. Applicant Martha Alvarez.
We have a recommendation on the table. Are they here?
No.
Will you
I
read it in?
recommended to table the item because that shopping center has a big parking problem. And the plans that were submitted were incomplete, so I want to get together with the applicant and see how we work around it. No, he's for the.
I know. Before you leave, I need to see you. Okay, relax. It's.
So we are tabling, yeah,
Yeah,
you have
so-
to make a motion.
Second that motion.
Okay, motion by Mr. Ulloa, second by Mr. Casanova. Mr. D. Perez?
Yes.
Mr. Gamon?
Yes.
Mr. Ulloa? Mrs. Enriquez?
Yes.
Mr. Iglesias?
Yes.
Mr. Jimenez?
Yes.
Mr. Casanova?
Yes.
Item has been tabled.
Do you want this item back or?
Yes, please.
Okay. Let's add it back to the
Yeah.
young lady here.
Item number 9, special use permit to allow the expansion of the neighborhood business district overlay for the development of a 7-unit multifamily building. Variance to allow only residential units where mixed use is required. Allow residential units on the ground floor where residential units are allowed above the ground floor level. Allowed all residential units with areas ranging from 550 square feet to 600 square feet, where 850 square feet is the minimum required, and only 10% of the units may have an area of 600 square feet. Allow 5 feet east side setback, where 15 feet are required, and allow 8 parking spaces where 14 parking spaces are required. Property is located at 65 West 7th Street, Hialeah Zone R3D, multiple family district. Applicant, RMH Development LLC.
Thank you. Name and address, please.
Good evening. Thank you for your time. Miguel Bad with Capital City Consulting on behalf of 235 Caledonia Avenue, on behalf of RHM Development regarding 65 West 7th Street.
Thank you, sir.
I will read the recommendation, but I recommend you to go to Google Maps and look at the area because you will better relate to what I will read. 65 West 7th Street. The property in this application is located on the north side of West 7th Street, east of West 1st Avenue, within the Hialeah downtown urban center. The property has R3D zoning and CBD land use. The 6,750 square feet site, 0.15 acre, is improved with a single-family house built in 1925 that is the only remaining single-family residence fronting West 7th Street. The rest of the properties on both sides of East 7th Street are developed with multifamily buildings, most of them having 2 stories and developed in the 1960s, with its parking backing out into the street that at night accommodates tandem parking encroaching into a sidewalk and the city's right-of-way. One of those multifamily buildings is now an assisted living facility. The east end of the block facing Palm Avenue is developed with a commercial building built in the 1950s and a mixed-use development built in the early 2000s. Current density regulations would allow a maximum of 4 units on lots of identical sizes. That limitation is reflected in 2 properties developed in the 80s, which include 4 units with a parking lot located at the front of the building. The properties developed in the 1960s were built at a density of 55 units per acre, having 8 units. The applicant is before the city with a redevelopment proposal for the site, including a 3-story building with 7 one-bedroom apartments and 8 parking spaces. The development proposes 50% frontage along the street with a 10-foot wide landscape area fronting the proposed building, and a 2-way driveway to access the parking area located in part below the building and at the rear of the lot, where also the dumpster enclosure is proposed. All the parking area is proposed to be improved with pavers or stamped asphalt or concrete. The ground floor will have a single 1-bedroom unit and 2 staircases to access the upper floors, where 3 one-bedroom apartments are proposed on each floor. A contemporary facade is proposed, including a decorative metal or wood vertical band consolidating the small bathroom windows beside the perimeter encasement fusing the bedroom window. To be able to develop the property as proposed at a density of 47 units per acre and in a compact fashion, the applicant is requesting a special use permit to allow the expansion of the MBD regulations, allow single residential use where mixed use is required, allow residential units on the ground floor, allow all residential units with area of 550 square feet, where a minimum of 850 square feet is required on 6 units, and 600 square feet is allowed on 1 unit. Allow 5 feet side setback where 15 feet are required when abutting residential property, and allow 8 parking spaces where 14 parking spaces are required. Comparing the existing multifamily developments on similar size lots in the immediate area with the proposed development, the proposed contemporary building is more attractive than the 1960s models with backout parking and the 1980s model with a parking lot at the front and the building at the deep end of the lot. Although the proposed development is extremely compact and short in parking, it should not be discarded since it presents an alternative for the replacement of older properties at a density similar to the one approved in the 1960s, and that could serve to motivate property owners to replace older buildings without losing density. The proposal before the city should be considered as a prototype that could incentivize the replacement of older buildings at an increased density, allowing the construction of updated affordable living units. The parking shortage could be absorbed by the immediate area since it has a significant amount of on-street parking and used at night and on weekends when residential developments increase their parking demand. With the above premise in mind, the requested SUP and variances may be approved. The recommendation is approved.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, members of the board and staff, thank you for your time. This property was previously a dilapidated structure. As Ms. Storch said, we're respectfully requesting this parcel for MBD to permit a 7-unit mixed-use workforce housing development. The intent here is to encourage our young professionals, our educators, our first responders to work and live here in the city of Hialeah at an affordable price. The owner is committed to meet rent as per workforce housing guidelines, and with this, ask for your support and open for any questions.
Well, it's not mixed use for the records, no?
Okay, I'm
It's
sorry. Thank you for the
multifamily.
correction, Ms. Storch.
Thank you. Comments or questions?
It's a
When
great
you-
improvement.
If you pass by this area at night, the only thing you see is cars and cars on top of cars. And no one redevelops because they have now 8 units. If they come to redevelop, they can only have 4 units. So I think this could be a model and an incentive. So all those old properties go down and they get redeveloped. The variance is significant, but I think that it's a need.
Motion to approve.
Noted. Hold that.
Hey, there was a motion to
No, no,
deny
hold
before.
that. I
so-
got you. I got you. Any comments or questions from the board? I mean, from the board. Anyone in the audience? Anyone in the electronic audience? We have a motion on the floor.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Jimenez, second by Mr. Gamon. Mr. D. Perez?
Yes.
Mr. Iglesias?
Yes.
Mr. Gamon?
Yes.
Mrs. Enriquez?
Yes.
Mr. Jimenez?
Yes.
Mr. Ulloa? Mr. Casanova?
Yes.
Item has been approved.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Miscellaneous items not requiring advertising. Item number 10, tentative plat of Lulam Plaza.
So, this is a property. This is the property located on West 12th Avenue that is going to be redeveloped. We considered it not long time ago. It has a little school, a house, and it's going to be redeveloped into a mixed-use development. So there are comments from the Water and Sewer Department. I won't read them because they are related to the width of the ladders and all the things that they need to do.
I'm not gonna go there.
The Streets Division also has no objections that a sign and seal site plan and paving drainage plan will be required before the final plat is issued. Fire Department, Police, Parks and Recreation, and Planning have no object. So the recommendation is approval.
Okay. You need to,
Alejandro Arias, 701 Brickell Avenue. I think Deborah referenced everything. This project's at 8155 West 12th Avenue, just recently approved, exciting mixed-use project. But this item is not exciting. This is as boring as it can get tonight. It's a very clerical, technical subdivision process, and that's what you have before you.
so you don't want me to go down that road that,
I think we did that already.
okay, we did that already. Okay. You know what I'm talking about, right? The porta potties.
Oh.
All right, comments, questions on the board? No? Anyone in the audience? Anyone in the electronic audience? All right, what's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Iglesias, second by Mr. Jimenez. Mr. Gamon?
Yes.
Mr. Enriquez?
Yes.
Mr. Iglesias?
Yes.
Mr. Jimenez?
Yes.
Mr. Casanova?
Yes.
Mr. Ulloa? Mr. D. Perez?
Yes.
Item has been approved.
Thank you all. Have a great night.
Item number 11, old business. No old business. Item number 12, new business.
And you have to decide if we want to cancel the second meeting in December, that is in the holidays. So if you want to cancel it, we need a motion and a
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, so motion by Mr. Iglesias, second by Mr. Jimenez to cancel the second meeting of December, which it would be on December 28th. Mr. Casanova?
Yes.
Mr. D. Perez?
Yes.
Mr. Jimenez?
Yes.
Mr. Ulloa? Mrs. Enriquez?
Yes.
Mr. Gamon?
Yes.
Mr. Iglesias?
Yes.
Okay, so meeting of December 28th has been canceled.
And the other new business, happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy.
Same to you all.
Any more new business? No? It is adjourned.